Welcome back in to another edition of the Kickabout here on the Blue Room. I am your host, Rob Vera, joined this week, this month, this whatever, by the great Keith Tomlin. Keith, buddy, it's so great to see you. I don't think people often realize that, as much as we're sitting here having a conversation as a podcast, that this is oftentimes the first time that we get to see each other and talk to one another in an extended manner beyond WhatsApp. It's actually been a while, man.
It has been. It's been a hot minute. I think the last time we got the opportunity to do anything like this was when we did the music pod with Les and KRJ.
Oh God, has it been that long?
You've been that long?
I feel like surely you've been on with like me and Les or Matt or something. Has it really been that long? God,
I've been very, very sparse on podcasts across the summer.
Yeah,
it's my downtime. It's time to recover from talking about all things Everton.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're back. We're ready to go.
We're back. I know. I knew I was back in terms of, all right, I'm starting to care again because I actually took the monumental financial risk of actually paying Everton Football Club yesterday for a stream for the game, which in fairness to them worked the whole time. I don't know what kind of miraculous configuration of little gremlins behind the scene were, propping that stream up with scotch tape and prayers, but it worked. And I got to watch the game. And I'll be honest, like my decisions sometimes for preseason games are usually related to is this kind of the last preseason fixture, because you get a sense that you might get some kind of not maybe dress rehearsal, but something more akin to like the starting 11 is going to be somewhat approximately close to what maybe the manager puts out, though this time obviously might be different, or it's just, hey, whoever he names in the starting 11, is that a player that I actually want to see beyond clips on Twitter, right? And so saw that yesterday. You got Dibbling and Hackney in the starting 11. Tierno Berry starting again. Njai back. I just was sort of like, all right, I kind of want to see, and Pickford, and I sort of want to see this a little bit. The less said about our friend James Tarkowski, the better. But whatever, he's there.
I'm sure he'll come up across the course of the next period of time, however long we discuss the terrible toffees for.
Yeah, but I watched it yesterday, and I'll admit, Keith, and I kind of wanted your thought. Did you have a chance to watch any of it, or did you catch highlights?
Yeah, luckily, so I had an afternoon to myself yesterday, which involved sitting on the couch with two fans blowing directly at me, a nice cold drink, and the Bolton Globetrotters in the last preseason run out. So yeah, I saw the whole thing.
Okay, well, very good.
We can go into that.
We can go into it with an actual educated perspective of.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've thought this for a couple of weeks now. So we had the early game with Dundee. I don't know what's going on. Someone's kicking off outside my house at the moment. It's quite distracting from my chain of thought, but there we go. Bear with me, mate. We might have to edit this bit out, but somebody.
No, it's fine. Well, before, you know what, Keith? Well, I'm going to vamp for Keith for just a minute while he is handling the local color outside of his recording space. But man, I watched yesterday, and I took away two kind of conflicting feelings from it, Keith, and I want to hear your thoughts on it too. Like on the one hand, really liked the way we looked, especially first half. But again, I'm judging preseason games more on how do things look, how do they feel, how does the game flow, those kinds of things. Does the group look like they're they're kind of hitting that point in the momentum leading up to the season where they're starting to they look fit, they're hitting their stride, there's some sharpness, and all of that was there. I think on the one hand, I was excited because so much of the good football yesterday was coming from a lot of the guys that we have, and I know I have been pounding the table to see get more of a role in terms of, hey, let's see what these guys have. I want to know about the players that I don't know enough about. I don't know if I can make it any clearer than that. I think that for the place that Everton are in, that should be the marching orders. We are not a club right now, at least, that is going to be aiming for top 4 right now. It's okay to say that. It's all right to admit that. Yeah. So let's take advantage of it. And what I saw yesterday was really exciting. And it in terms of, not in terms of, man, everything was perfect, not in terms of, well, we've got everything we need and let's just go. And I'm not saying that, but more along the lines of, there is something about seeing a young, talented core group growing in front of you, and the kind of a hope that you can attach to something that you get to watch grow, versus seeing the same thing and the same players over and over and over again. So from that standpoint, I was pretty excited. On the other hand, and this is something I think that will be a theme throughout today, Keith, I think Les asked, we solicited some questions this morning, and Les put in just the generic, what are you most looking forward to this season? And my problem, Keith, is that I don't know how to answer that question, because when you have certain players that Moyes has at his disposal or doesn't have at his disposal, what the football looks like oftentimes can be very different. And what I don't know is, am I being shown something to get me excited now that we just are not going to see much when the actual season starts? And what I mean, to be specific, is, are players like Tyreek George and Tyler Dibbling and Hayden Hackney, or Harrison Armstrong. God, that guy has looked great. Merlin Roll seems like he is making himself someone who ought to be a fixture of some kind of role in this team, right? So I get excited about those guys, and all I can think is, am I being teased, Keith? Is this something that I'm not actually going to see much of once? Because there's this sense that Moyes is like, oh, this is all fine, but now we got to get the adults back in. So I got to, we're going to get Grealish in here, and, Norgard's going to start. And again, Norgard fills a need, and I think he's a perfectly fine player. But, you know what I mean? It's, how much of this can I believe? How much of this can I grasp onto and stay excited about, Keith?
Yeah, I'm fully with you on that. I think we know Moyes. We know what he's like. He likes his familiar faces. He likes his home comforts. It's largely the reason Dwight McNeil got so many minutes last season. Mm-hmm. We saw a lot of Michael Keane at centre half last season. I think, hopefully, if we can avoid the sort of the big injury problems with Branthwaite that he's had over the last couple of seasons, he starts every week at centre half for me. Yeah. Which means his partner is one of Tarkowski, O'Brien, Keane. Now that's a big if, because we've seen a lot of injury issues with Branthwaite, but ideally he is the focal point. He is the rock that you build that defence around. I know we shouldn't read too much into things like squad numbers, but obviously he's moved to number 4 this season. I think that's part of a statement of, yes, I am the choice. I am the number 1 choice for centre half. In a sort of perverse way, I'm actually okay with the fact that Norgard isn't fully fit, because I feel like if he was, he would have come straight into the 11. Yeah. And as good as he was last season, obviously James Garner is your starting holding midfielder. The fact that neither of them are probably going to be available on Saturday kind of means that Hayden Hackney's going to start.
Yeah,
Like, he's going to get a start there.
seems that way. Yeah.
If he does, like, it depends what he does with the right back position. I would be so that team that played yesterday, that 11 that started yesterday, for me, that's the 11 that starts on Saturday, or should be. The only
even Dibbling, and by the way, you know how I feel about that. I thought Dibbling looked great yesterday, and he's looked great the last 2 weeks. But the
only question for me around it is, do you go with Dibbling? Do you like try and roll on this little bank of confidence that he's got going on? Because these last 2 games, Newcastle and Lille on yesterday, he's looked a very confident player.
Yeah.
And just little bits like where he's getting to the edge of the box, cutting in on his left and having a shot. Now, obviously, he had one that stung the palms and he had a couple that were sort of more P-rollers at the goalie. The fact he's doing that and he's confident enough to take that on is a far cry from anything we've seen from him so far in an Everton shirt. I know that's obviously been very, very limited.
Yeah.
My one question is, on the other side of that, Tyreek George has also had an incredibly strong preseason. Yep. He looks bigger, he looks fitter, he's faster, and he looks more. The snippets of Tyreek George we saw last season, aside from, I think it was Brentford away, where we came back and equalised late on. Aside from that, he didn't really look to do much creative. He kind of took the safe route more often than not. Maybe a little burst of speed down, but he would be cutting back. What I've seen from him in pre-season is he wants to take a man on. He wants to be direct and get towards the goal or the goal line at least to get a ball in.
Yeah.
So for me, that's the one debatable position is, do you start Dibbling on the right and Njai on the left, which I think is Njai's best position, or do you start George on the left and move Njai onto the right and sort of sacrifice that best position for Njai? But we know how good he is, obviously, from last season. A couple of examples of him cutting in from the right wing, being the Sunderland goal, that won the club's goal of the season. So that's the debate for me. Other than that, that's the 11 I would want to see on Saturday.
Okay, now, so just to recap here, I think, and we'll get on to Tierno Berry because I want to talk about him too. But Tierno Berry starts. I think he's
earned it across preseason.
Yeah, I think he's clearly won the job in the preseason. But Berry, so behind Berry, what we have Dewsbury Hall, just behind. Are we having him more advanced, right behind the striker, or are we having?
I think it's quite. We're lucky in that. Well, it depends on. So we'll touch on quickly the right back position. If he sticks with
it's going to be. I assume it's going to be Roll. If
he sticks with Merlin Roll there, great, brilliant, right? I think we're lucky in that we've got quite a fluid situation in that you can have out of Hackney, Dewsbury Hall, and Harrison Armstrong.
Right.
You get 3 footballers there who are confident with the ball at the feet. They're willing to, like I've touched on with Tyreek George, be direct, get towards goal, transition the lines if you want to use horrible modern football terminology. So it's kind of a fluid situation where you could have any one of them sitting. I will say I think Hayden Hackney's looked very good sitting deep, picking up the ball, getting his head up and finding the passes. You look back to the Tyreek George goal against Newcastle. That was that came from Hackney picking it up deep and finding that sort of cutting pass. So you're looking at then Dewsbury Hall, who's also I think Dewsbury Hall's had a good preseason. I think he looks confident. We know he's a good footballer.
Yeah,
he had patches last season where he faded in and out. But on the whole, he's made our midfield so much better. And then you've got Harrison Armstrong, who obviously didn't feature a lot last season after we brought him back. He's played a lot of minutes in pre-season, and Moyes seems to really like the look of him. And for me, it's a lot like Harrison Armstrong for me is a lot like when Ross Barkley broke into the team. Coming off the back of a couple of loans where he might have played well on loan, but he didn't really sort of set anything alight. And then all of a sudden, he's in the team as this young kid, and he's brimming with confidence, and he's ready to go. Harness that, like, give him the ball, let him run, let him run at the defense. The less said about his miss yesterday, the better. I think he thought he was offside, and he's just like.
But yeah, that was just a weird moment. And honestly, he's had so many good moments. Like it's a miss in the preseason game. It's a classic. He had too much.
Too much time to think.
Basketball. Yeah. It's in basketball. They refer to that as the shot was so wide open, or like you see it in American football. Keith, how many times have we seen the receiver was so wide open that it just vexed him and he just dropped the ball? I mean, I just think that's what that was. But
yeah, absolutely.
Can I say this on Harrison Armstrong? I said this he was pretty impressive last preseason as well. And I made the comment at the time, and I especially want to make it now. But like, and forgive me for not knowing, is he 20 now?
I was literally just about to say that. Do you know what? I'm going to do the sensible thing and look it up so we don't get it wrong.
But again, let me just say to everyone, like, and I think people, I don't know sometimes when having these discussions, Keith, like how stuck are we on age? And it probably both ways.
Yeah.
Like, and what I mean by that is I know that there's probably parts of me that have to let go of the kind of construct of, how I look at players over 30 sometimes, though I think that a lot of times I'm thinking in terms of, I don't mind us having players in our 11 who are over 30. In fact, I think you need one, a few of those. It's more just a question of, does it make sense given the other options? Like having a discussion.
Speaking of players over 30, Man City are making a halftime sub, and Jack Grealish is coming on.
Okay, well, don't worry, we're going to get to Jack Grealish.
We'll circle around to him.
But at the same time, I guess my thing on Harrison Armstrong is, if he was just 23 and had been playing exactly the same way, there would be zero discussion about whether or not he's in this squad for the rest of the season, right? And I almost think that would have been true last preseason as well, when he looked very, very impressive. Yeah. Now, one thing I'll also point out is that, how he looks when he's in the mid, in the center of the park versus being shunted out to a wing, I think is significant. Yeah, but like all of a sudden, I remember, with Dewsbury Hall coming in, one of the things that just popped off the screen immediately with him is, what is this thing? A midfielder who seems decisive on the ball and is a quick decision maker. And suddenly you watch this preseason, Keith, and this is one of the things that I've noticed, because if anyone who's watched Everton for any period of time knows that the worst part of it, the most consistent bad part of watching Everton just from a purely aesthetic perspective is that we have employed midfielders that generally could not string more than 3 or 4 passes together without like doing the thing where they go, where do I go? Or what do I do? Suddenly though, it feels like upon Dewsbury Hall coming in and the emergence of Armstrong, and I think we even have begun to see this now with Dibbling getting more minutes as well. With obviously Norgard's, IQ is a big part of what his value proposition is, right? Like suddenly it feels like Everton have suddenly stocked this midfield, and especially if we get rid of Tim Irabunum, who, fine, he's an okay player, but he's not, passing is obviously his worst quality, but like suddenly we have passers in the midfield who are not just guys who can pass a ball per se, but I'm more concerned with quick decision making. You know what I mean? Like you have the ball and you know where you're going next, or you know that I am either going to dribble forward, I'm going to pass it, I'm going to do something, but there's not the I'm not sure what to do, followed by falling down and the ball getting, taken off of you. I feel like one thing that low-key gives me more optimism in the ceiling for this team this season is the ability, the kind of heightened IQ and overall skill of our players in the midfield. Now, all of this is incumbent, of course, on Moyes actually playing these guys. And I don't know. Now, again, I think in the midfield, I think it'll be interesting when it does feel like when Garner comes back, he's obviously going to get a spot, and Norgard was not. Here's the thing. Like, I like Norgard, but I like the idea of Norgard. He didn't play much last season. He was really good at Brentford. He's by all accounts a pretty quality player. We need a real number 6, right? So I don't really, I can't complain about it. It's not like it's different than bringing in a 30-something, like the links. The horrifying Sunday link today, Keith, is bringing in Ben White as our right back solution or something like I can't deal with more center halves over 30 playing fullback or throwing more center halves into this equation when we have a young option. But when it comes to a 6, we don't have one. So Norgard I get. But I think my concern is just watching yesterday and watching against Newcastle, Keith, like, it's hard not to watch these young players, and after the game is done, thinking, I could watch 90 minutes more of that. I could watch 90 minutes more of those guys doing football things in front of me, because I'm going to see something I haven't seen before. I'm going to see, like that shot that Tyler Dibbling had when he cut in and stung the goalkeeper. Like that could have gone in, and we'd be having a really interesting conversation today. But exactly. I want to see, and you know what? When the ball is going to go in, Keith, when he plays more. You know what I mean? So to me, I'm using Dibbling as an example, but like, I want to see if we're going to say, for instance, continue with, and by all accounts we're going to, it's almost like Tarkowski has almost become a religious fundamental principle for Everton management, in that he cannot be dropped. There's no option where he can do anything. So I almost have to just accept that he is a starter and nothing else. But I can live with that as long as these other players, and Norgard, same thing. I can live with those things. I just want to see Harrison Armstrong have some kind of consistent role. Yeah. I want Dibbling, even if he's not starting every week, to have some kind of, role. They need to be kept in the team. And as much as the focus has been on Moyes and his Dyche-like quality of favoring age over almost everything else, it's less that's almost less my issue, and more of just my bigger issue is that I don't like when a manager in the year of our Lord 2026 has a squad that is got this many options in it and has such a lack of curiosity about what he can do with it. To me, and we saw the stats, Keith, we were the worst in terms of playing, not using our bench, minutes used. Running these guys into the ground. Like, why did Njai, start to look poor near the end of the season? Because he got zero break after AFCON and was just thrown back in. Same with Ghana Gay. Like Moyes' proclivity. It's not that, like, if he wants to have a consistent starting 11, okay, but change it up every once in a while. Work other guys in as substitutes, but you've got to keep mentally these young players engaged, or else that development. Because I'm sorry, I will argue with anyone who wants to have this discussion. Players don't develop from the bench. They don't. No. They don't.
Well, that's the thing. With
watching lesser talented players than them be bad, like Mikolenko, for instance.
Well, with Harrison Armstrong, he's going to get 1, maybe 2 weeks to make a statement and say, "This is my spot. You can't take me out of it."
Yeah,
it's not likely to happen. It's probably not going to happen. The reality is, when Garner comes back and when Norgard's up to speed, they come into the team. They probably start the games. We know.
So what's that formation look like then, Keith? So you got the back 4, Norgard right in front of them, I would assume, right?
Yeah, and then Garner alongside Dewsbury Hall, which I don't hate. I don't hate that setup. I'd prefer Norgard was used more for the possibly away games when we're looking to hit more on the counter quickly. We need that extra body holding.
Okay.
With Armstrong, if he doesn't make this, like, score 3 goals and assist another 6 in the first 2 games, you have to send him on loan again.
Yeah,
he's not going to develop.
But
and we have too many bodies in that midfield who will start games before him in the eyes of the manager. So if you're not going to start him,
so because Hackney is in the mix, we know Hackney will be here, right?
Yeah.
So Hackney will be here for sure. Who else are
Merlin Roll?
And you got Merlin Roll if he's not playing right back.
Yeah.
Which it's hard not to expect that he's
Garner,
playing right back.
Norgard, Dewsbury Hall. There's 5 that you know are going to be. They're basically
counting
the first
Roll in
5
that
in
5. Like, I guess that's what I'm wondering. Are you counting Roll in that the midfield?
Yeah, I think he's still better as a midfielder. And again, it ties into what I was saying earlier about that flexibility where they can play deep and pick up the ball, or they can play further forward and more advanced and just behind the line. Roll's got that, and he's got that pace. The other thing with Roll as well is you can stick him wide right, and he doesn't look out of place.
He's got great pace.
So he's one of those wonderful throwback footballers who's a little bit of everything. He can do a little bit of everything, and you can plug and play with Merlin Roll.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a huge season for Everton. Personally, I think he's going to be, when we come round to 10 months' time, the end of May, when we're chatting about Player of the Season, he's going to be in the conversation for me. That's how confident I am about him this year.
That's a bold. That's a bold.
I love what he's about. He's a no nonsense, no messing sort of footballer. He's quick, he's skillful, he can pick a pass. It's everything you want, ideally, from a centre midfielder. Also got the option to play him right back or right wing, should the need arise. For now, the rise is that we have to play him right back, because if you don't, it's going to be Jake O'Brien back there, and for the love of God, I can't do another 10 months of that.
He doesn't want to do another 10 months of it.
Nobody wants it except David Moyes and Michael Keane. They're the only 2 people that want that to happen this season.
The defense.
So yeah,
I think that's the thing.
It's one of those with the
any of my excitement about the attack, of which there is a lot, Keith. Like, look, we'll move on to the defense here in a bit, but I will preface the overall discussion by saying that we all watched the run-in last season when we absolutely shit our pants and collapsed down the stretch. And yes, while the easiest clickbaity discussion at all times is about goals scored or not scored and those sorts of things, to me, it was how much did we concede late? How much did we, during that stretch in particular? It was the defense, which was consistently capitulating at the worst possible times. At the heart of many of those mistakes were players who not only are still here, but are still either cemented as starters and or were given new contracts, which to me, when you say it like that, Keith, do you know what I mean? Like, why is this not more of like, it's weird how we have all sort of become resigned to, well, what are you going to do? It's not
just
like
think how well protected that asset is, though.
I have never understood why certain players become these sacred cows and others don't. You know what I mean? Like, I've never understood that, but I certainly, after last season, thought, is this not the evidence right in front of you that these guys are not fit for this purpose anymore? Now, one of the best defenses I hear of Tarkowski is that, well, yeah, he was bad, but that's because he's playing next to Michael Keane, which there's some truth to, there's truth to the idea of, 2 guys who are not good partners together, because in their case, they're both big, they're both slow, they're just both slow.
Yeah.
And that, the best way, but if you put Tarkowski next to Jared Branthwaite, and that's true that every player looks better next to Jared Branthwaite because he is an excellent physical specimen and a great, when he's fit, he's a great center half. Shout out Yeri Mina, like that. I know what a I know what a great oft injured center half looks like and what they bring to the team and the way they elevate a more mediocre partner. It's just that it's one thing when you have to do that. It's another when we now have a viable option and we're just kind of like, nah, Tarkowski, he's experienced. And so there's just it's not even a discussion. And by the way, where are all the other teams that are banging down our door to try to get James Tarkowski? Like, there's no interest in him out there. And yet he is the first name next after Pickford on the starting 11. That drives me crazy. But anyway, that's one part of it, Keith. The other part, but with the excitement around the attacking area, I think that's where I'm most encouraged and yet most curious, because it does feel like David Moyes is in this position when it comes to certain additions that he will or won't make with the remainder of the window, A, in terms of how much control he has, and B, like, I think the biggest factor in all of this is that the real problem right now for me is that the incentives for David Moyes, given his current contractual status, are misaligned with what ought to be the priorities of the club right now. Everton are a mid-table side that has, for the first time, and I think we all agree, a bunch of like exciting, young, talented players that are still need refinement and are raw and need all of that development. And we're sitting here, Keith, having the first part of this discussion talking about which combination of wings could we deploy. Like, we haven't even mentioned Brennan Johnson yet, who came on in the second half. And I thought, oh, okay, I see what they're talking about in terms of the speed, right? The pace. But like, I asked the question yesterday, and I don't know that I have heard a really good reason why, but like, I look at those four, and do you need more? If you're not in Europe, Keith, do you need more than 4 first-team wing players? And if you don't, why are we spending a significant chunk, a permanent fee level amount of money for a 1-year rental again of a 31-year-old or about to be 31-year-old Jack Grealish, who, don't get me wrong, was once an excellent player and was pretty good for us in the first half of the season, of last season. I'm not denying all that. Sells a t-shirt, has a ponytail that doesn't quit. He's got all of it. But why are we spending that much money just for another loan? He will be the highest paid player at the club, and he's not even fit yet, Keith. Like, why are we spending that money and then ultimately then bringing him back? Because the second he can play, Moyes will start him playing 90 minutes every game. And so,
he starts every week at left wing under Moyes. And then you look at you've lost. That's Njai's best position is on the left.
Right.
For me. I used to think it was on the right cutting in. I've gone against that now. I think he's much better on the left, where he's allowed that little space just to drift in between the touchline and sort of the edge of the 18.
Yeah.
And playing that sort of channel where he can pick the ball up anywhere. You stifle Tyreek George's development and the positive preseason he's coming off the back of, because his minutes become extremely limited. The only argument, like, don't get me wrong, like you said there, Grealish, the vibes are immaculate.
Sure.
He's like,
but he's declining, is he not?
He is, yeah. And he's like you say, he's in his 30s. He's coming off the back of a very serious injury. How is he going to respond to that? His salary is astronomical compared with anyone else at the club. He's on something like £250,000 a week. Everton can't, like, I know
maybe we can eventually, but as a finishing piece, but not right now.
No,
yeah.
It's not the only justification I could give for signing Jack Grealish on loan is if Njai goes before the end of the window.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you go, right, okay, well, we're a huge piece short now. We can get this guy on loan without a transfer fee. We're just paying the wage. Yes, they are large wages, but it's a good body to have in there. For me right now, I'm happy. I'd be delighted for Everton to go with the wingers that they've got, i.e., Dibbling, Dibbling and Brennan Johnson for the right wing, Njai and Tyreek George for the left wing. You know, Njai can play both. You know that you can also play Merlin Roll right wing if you're ever struggling or like short on numbers. I reckon you could probably play him left wing.
I mean, Dibbling's left-footed. He just happens to like.
He prefers that.
Like Njai does.
Yeah, and coming in off the right.
You could probably play in the center if you had to in a pinch.
If you want to go really deep, you've also got Adam Asnu there, who came on last season in the cup game against Sunderland and played left wing when he came on. We'll touch on him more when we go on to the defence. So I don't see. I love Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish at Everton was a great time for everyone. We all had a lovely time. We're all having a lot of fun, and then his leg blew up. What I will say for him as well is he doesn't have that pace where every other winger we've mentioned there is quick. Yeah. And Grealish is relying on his footwork to get by fullbacks. If that doesn't work, then that's his trick. He has to come back.
It's a slower game. It was very much built for the Man City side that he joined from Villa. You know what I mean? Under Pep,
death by
where
1,000
lots
passes.
of like guys who, like little passes, not didn't have to be predicated on pace because they were just so overwhelmingly skilled.
Yeah,
that and they would be given enough space. Like, I wonder, and this will sound very like. Yeah, thanks for saying thanks, Captain Obvious. But like, I think Grealish, again, I have nothing but esteem for his overall capabilities and like the body of work he's put together as a player. But like when you play for City, you get a lot more space because of of how the defense fears every one of the options around you. Last season, and don't get me wrong, like he certainly was overall very productive when he played, but it was very much a case of, all right, let's get the ball to Grealish and then we're going to hope he does something. And he would try to like get around guys, and occasionally he'd pull it off, but like it wasn't really a game. It wasn't like a move the ball around a lot, like quick decisions and these kinds of things. It was, and I'm just thinking that now maybe I could make the argument that Grealish could look good next to some of these guys that we've been talking about, and I do think the team around him is better. But my question is like, what is the domino effect of if let's say Njai stays? Okay, so let's start with this. Let's start with this question, Keith. Just one off, real easy. I'm going to put you on the spot. Right now in 2026, and let's just say that Grealish is fit again. Okay, who's better, him, Jack Grealish, or Iliman Njai?
Njai. I think you get more out of Njai than you do out of Grealish.
So if that's true, let's just operate on the assumption that that's true, and I think I agree with you. Okay, but like let's just operate on the assumption that's true. I think Njai has more pace. He has a lot of the same ability to the footwork. And he's got an eye for goal that I don't know that Jack Grealish quite has these days. But whatever. Let's just say that we agree that Njai is the better player and that he's staying. Okay.
Yeah.
The domino effect then of bringing Jack Grealish in is what? Why, if Njai is the better player, shouldn't we be making sure that he is in his best position and that everything else flows from that?
Yeah.
If that's the case, where does Grealish play? Grealish is limited to playing pretty much on the left-hand side, right? So it's one of those.
I think you can play Grealish in the 10. I don't mind but the idea of Grealish.
So why would you do that when you've got?
But then you've got Dewsbury Hall.
Yeah.
So I fully agree. I think, like, don't get me wrong. If Everton sign Jack Grealish, I'll have the same sort of levels of excitement I had last year. Like, there's a lot of positivity comes off having Jack Grealish involved.
Okay.
Right. It gets the crowd up. Everyone sort of gets into it. There's a lot of good things but you don't ultimately make your 11 better by signing Jack Grealish. You make your squad better. I would say he's probably, sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but he's probably just about a better option to play on the left wing than Tyreek George right now, purely because Tyreek George is young, he's raw, he's still not like fully developed into the footballer he's going to become.
Right.
So you make your squad better by signing Jack Grealish, but you also, the cotton on effect to that is you've taken a huge chunk of what was available to make the squad better elsewhere, and you now can't because you're paying £250,000 a week
plus whatever the loan fee is,
for someone who is not the best option in either of his positions in the current squad.
Yeah.
So, but because of how much you're paying him a week,
you have to.
There's almost like a. Well, we've got to play him somewhere.
Yeah. And and Keith, you've nailed it. That is what I'm tired of that kind of thing, which is, the manager and people at the club can talk all they want about how much meritocracy is a real thing. But when you continually have this, well, I know, but there's an exception for him. And the reason there's an exception for him is because, they won't say it, but like he's a name, and he used to be he used to be one of the top 5-10 best players in the league.
Sells jerseys as well.
Sells a lot of shirts. That to me those are non-footballing reasons why footballing decisions are being made. And I don't want that. And I also don't want, well, he's played a lot as being the only justification for why a player continues to play despite poor performances. We have a standard of, you have to perform to stay in the team that applies only to certain players and doesn't apply to, certain players who, for reasons that I still don't understand, are exempt, even though they've accomplished nothing in their careers in terms of winning, are exempt from these standards that
Premier League experience.
Premier League experience. I'm tired of those things. But, to your point about Grealish, here's the thing. Like the player, like the guy overall, I think a lot of fans think Grealish would be their dream drinking partner, and so therefore,
he'd be a great pipe.
I think that's part of it. But here's my thing, and I asked this yesterday in a poll question. I don't know if I asked it well, but I guess here's the question you have to ask yourself based on what we've seen in the preseason is, if you want Jack Grealish back and you assume Njai is going to be here, which of the 3 wing players that we have spent significant money on are you cool with just not seeing this season? Because there are only a certain number of available minutes, Keith.
Exactly.
There are only a certain number of minutes at the wing in those wing positions that can be played. Now, I hear what you're saying about, well, there'll be injuries and there'll be things. I understand that, but we can't predict any of that. But my point is simply that if your answer is Brennan Johnson, well, that makes no sense. I mean, we just acquired him. Now, granted, the thing Brennan Johnson has going against him is that we kind of acquired him for nothing. No offense to Dwight McNeil, but we acquired him for basically nothing. Now,
it was almost a marriage of convenience, wasn't it?
Yeah. I like Brennan Johnson as an option more than Dwight McNeil for a host of reasons.
Well,
the pace being the main one. But again, we just acquired him. So I want to see more of him. He's 25. He's got a lot of pace. And, he has got a pretty good goal scoring record, to be honest. I don't know why Palace was ready to give up on him after 6 months, but the fans were already sick of him, whatever. I don't know. But again, Brennan Johnson's coming to a situation where he won't be relied upon to start, at the very beginning, right? But Brennan Johnson intrigues me. And we've all watched how Tyreek George has looked. Does anyone look at these performances from him and say, I'd be cool with Jack Grealish taking all the minutes and George just playing, 15 minutes once every other week? Yeah. I wouldn't be comfortable with that. And then Tyler Dibling, who is finally starting to not only show something, Keith, but I would argue that what he shows he has shown in these last 2 weeks was the stuff we saw on all the clips from Southampton in terms of that footwork. He has, I would almost make the argument, aside from like maybe peak what Grealish was, I'm talking about Grealish territory here, but like, Tyler Dibbling has footwork and skill that is jumps off the screen when he finally starts to feel the confidence and starts to play like it.
And it's not just the last two. I mean, Stuttgart as well. Like, so take the result of Stuttgart out the window.
Sure.
You can do that because it was a close competitive game for the most of the game until like all the subs come in, and then obviously the result gets skewed. The referee played an extra 20 minutes or whatever. Tyler Dibbling was our best player against Stuttgart, and it wasn't particularly close either. He was outstanding.
And Keith, but what you say is
this is a young kid. It's a young lad, right? Who we know has ability, we know has the physical attributes, and at the moment he has confidence. He has a huge bag of confidence.
Something's happened. Something's clicked. Yeah,
fueling out of. Why would you take that away from him? Let him continue until the point where you see a change and you see a decline and you say, right, okay, he's lost a bit of confidence. We're going to take him out of the team. We're going to stick him on the bench. We'll give him a run. We'll give him 20 minutes at the end or whatever. At the moment, let him go. Give him his head, as they say. Just like let him gallop.
And not to put too fine a point on it, everything you just said is true. Much like what people have noticed with, Tierno Barry looks like he's stepped up a level this summer.
Yeah.
And now Tyler Dibbling looks like he's figuring it out. I don't mean to put too fine a point on this, but it's the reality. It's one thing if Tyler Dibbling was Harrison Armstrong and he was from the academy, and you can say to yourself, nice, looks good. Let's take him out on loan. Let's put him out on loan and let him develop, and we don't need to be in a rush, whatever. I'm sorry. You paid $40 million for Tyler Dibbling. And when you are a club the size of Everton, all you people who want to have it both ways, where you're like, it's not my money, but at the same time, but then act like the money part has nothing to do with, how certain decisions get made in terms of playing. Like, let's not be naive here. Like, Tyler Dibbling, we are not Chelsea, who can literally spend $40 million £40 million falling out of bed on a player. And then if it doesn't work in the first few weeks, just, send him out into Neverland to never be heard from again. We do not have the financially, PSR, lack of Europe, you name all the reasons. We cannot spend that money on a player like this and not figure out what he has got. There must be resources poured into, and resources in the form of minutes and playing time and chances. I don't care how annoyed some of you get at, well, this week he didn't look great, so we should, so why is he playing? No, I want to see him. I'm not saying start, Keith, but hey, if he starts against Palace, I don't think anyone can have a real problem with that. He's looked like he's kind of like he's been playing well enough to have earned that time. Now, if he doesn't start against Palace, I don't know who else would necessarily, unless the argument is that you want to move Njai to the right and put, George on the left for that guy. I have no problem with that either.
Yeah.
Any scenario where one of our young players that we spent pretty good money on, who's talented and who we need to learn more about and who needs development, gets to play, I'm all for.
Yeah.
But what I would say is that any scenario where you bring Jack Grealish in not only keeps one of them from starting, but it also most likely makes one of them your bench option and one of them a nothing option. And I just don't think we can afford to get zero productivity out of Tyler Dibbling this season. I just don't. I don't think we can afford
agree. 100% agree. And
and if he had a right back behind him, Keith, can you imagine how good a right wing player might be with an actual fullback who is a fullback behind him? So
well, I mean, you saw Saturday with the way he played with Merlin Roll. There was a lot of overlapping, and like Merlin Roll has again, we go back to the physical attribute. He's a very physically fit footballer.
Yeah.
Like, his stamina seems sort of unending.
Mm-hmm.
He was up and down that left wing the whole time, that right wing, sorry. And the good thing with that is if you've got the way Dibbling plays, like we've touched on, he likes to come in on if you've got someone like Marilyn Roll with his pace and his crossing ability to get round the outside of him, you've then got a defender thinking about two things. One, how do I stop the cross if it goes out wide? But two, how do I sort of stop him cutting inside and having a shot? And it puts the uncertainty on them. It's sort of they almost have to then double up, which sort of stops teams leaving a wide man further forward, which a lot of teams will do. It's like it's if you can like let him play like that and like you say, stick a competent right back behind him. There's no reason he can't absolutely fly this season. We know he can cross the ball. We know he can shoot.
He can pick a pass. He can
pick a pass, and he doesn't. I feel like what happened a lot of time last season when he was coming into games late is there's almost sort of that impetuous youth about him where he's trying too hard to make something happen,
or trying hard not to mess up because I only get 15 minutes this month, and if I make a mistake, I'll never get to play again. You can't have young players developing in that kind of environment.
Yeah, but his decision making looks a lot better this summer. Agreed. In that if nothing's on, he'll come back inside to Dewsbury Hall rather than knocking it all the way back to the centre half sort of thing. He'll still try and find that midfield pass. One of him and George has to start Saturday for me.
Yeah,
absolutely have to.
It can't be Brennan Johnson this early, so it's got to
either or. I'm happy with.
Yeah,
I'm happy with either of them starting. But if both of them are on the bench, we're starting off on a bad foot straight away. You're losing a lot of positivity. This is one thing as well with Everton is you have to, when you get the fans on side, when you get a little bit of positivity from the crowd, you have to use that. You can't just give it up. And over the last 2 weeks of pre-season, I don't know if this is just me looking at it through a microcosm. I think there's a positivity there about the way we've played and the way we're trying to play and the positive football and the attacking football. Harness that.
Yeah.
Run with it. Let the young, fast, tricky players play.
Yeah.
And if they make mistakes, encourage them to go again.
If they make mistakes, what's going to happen? We finish 13th again? Are we going to finish 13th again, Keith? Like, who cares?
Exactly.
You got to stop being afraid of that.
Make your mistakes in August when there's a blank slate, rather than making your mistakes in March when you're doing Pythagoras' theorem to try and work out whether Burnley and Leicester winning away will send us down on the 3rd of March or what. It's just like, now is the time to do it.
We're not going down. And that's the thing, Keith. One thing that the positivity thing you're touching on, I think, is rooted in the fact that what people can see with their own eyes right now is that from a pure just talent or squad depth perspective, right? I think everyone kind of agrees, even if we argue about certain players, I think we all agree right now that this is easily the most talented group Everton have had in a while in terms of you see lots of there's a lot of midfield depth. There's a lot of, we've got 4 wingers where we could literally have a discussion about whether or not it makes sense to bring Jack Grealish back. And none of those wingers is Dwight McNeil, which I cannot tell you how happy that makes me. And we have a striker that we spent money on last season to bring in who, and guess what, guys? He struggled, but he played a lot of minutes, mainly because David Moyes was probably denied from getting, Jamie Vardy in here on one last hurrah or something like that. Danny Ings. But you know what? He played, and all those struggles have built a platform for Barry to look the way he's looked this summer. So, I think everyone is looking at this right now and saying there's something there where people, I think, are holding back their what is keeping them from going all in and being enthusiastic and being hopeful is 2 things. One is will the manager get out of his own way in terms of playing these players in some kind of regular way, A, and B, the right back issue.
Yeah.
Because the right back issue is so much bigger than it's greater than the sum of its parts now, Keith, because the right back issue is a referendum on competency. It's not even it almost doesn't even matter that it's the right back position, Keith. What matters is that we are literally trying to build a car with 3 wheels, and we do not understand the reasons, and the club just refuse. They keep trying to find creative ways to we can build this car with 3 wheels. You just gotta or we're gonna have 3 normal wheels and one gigantic comically sized unicycle wheel as the back right wheel. Otherwise and that's what's so galling to me is it's not even about who the right back is. It's that it needs to be someone who has literally played right back before. We've treated this like it's some kind of unicorn position, as if there are only 4 right backs in the world that could ever be signed for any kind of money. And B, it's just a competency question, Keith. Why is it across managers and now across new ownership that we dither over this position of all things? A keeper, a striker, I kind of get that. A right back should be a relatively sign somebody that is a 6.5, 7 out of 10. That's better than Mikolenko. That should not be that hard, but and then we can start addressing the left back issue. But you see my point.
Well, yeah,
we've got to sign. But I think if we signed a right back, just personally, give me Munoz, because I think he adds to the energy and the excitement of this current group. But whatever.
We love a Colombian defender.
I love a Colombian defender. We have a giant Colombian defensive shaped hole in this squad right now, Keith. That, if my man wasn't so happy in Sardinia right now,
he's living his best life. It's like when you move into a top floor apartment and you've got to give your dog away because you can't. It's not fair on him. And you see them off on the farm, running around, having a great time, chasing chickens. That's Yerry Mina for us. We let Yerry fly free, and he's thriving.
But if I had faith that the manager would play the best team, and by the way, most of what he played yesterday is kind of along those lines. I'd be fine with pretty much that whole starting lineup. Even Tarkowski, fine, whatever. Just play those guys. I just worry that I worry what happens when Branthwaite gets hurt. Does he immediately bring Keane back in and learn no lessons? Do we sign? Do we when we bring Grealish back? Is he never dropped, and it's just, and we never see certain young guys do we I don't know. There's some of those questions, but that plus the contractual status thing, I guess, Keith, before as much as we were sitting here kind of talking about what the season looks like coming up, it's it feels hard not to imagine a very feasible scenario of, okay, so exactly when is Moyes getting sacked? Or if he takes this group and they play pretty well, maybe he doesn't, and that's fine. But the club need to just either extend him or sack him. But this living in this purgatory of being on the final year of his contract, the guy is a moody fucker to begin with, Keith, and he's already doing this real childish thing, I guess, of not talking to the media for reasons right now, which I don't totally understand. There's just a lot of weird stuff going on with Moyes, and I don't want his mood to affect what ought to be a bounce back positive season for this thing. And I think that the club need to make a decision. They need to either go with him, give him another 2 years and be done with it, or let him go. But let him go to let him manage Scotland. But I don't know what's going on here, Keith.
Well, I think Scotland are on the verge of hiring some fella who is he won the Belgian league or whatever. So I can't see that being a thing.
Okay, good.
In next year, unless this new Scottish manager is turbo shite, in which case it might happen. Anyway, I think with having a year left, I don't think the club are going to offer an extension unless we go on this mega run this season, where we're in the top 4 and we're looking brilliant, and they'll go, right, okay, well, maybe we'll give them another couple of years, whatever.
Yeah.
I think the club are in quite a good position on this, in that if this season is underwhelming, he leaves in the summer and they don't have to pay him off. If we go on this, like discussed there, we go on this run where we're 4th at Christmas and like taking on all comers, we look like a proper side, we've got a good thing going. Who else outside of Everton is going to come in at that point and offer him a pre-contract for next year for more money than he's on at Everton? No one.
No one, probably. Yeah.
So it's win-win for the club. They either write off this season as we're not going down. Let's
yeah, we're too good. Right. We're too talented to go down and deep enough. You know, we were listing midfield options, Keith. We didn't even mention Charlie Alcaraz. Like we got more players than I think we can withstand some injuries this season.
To sort of use a term that's used in American football a lot, I think we have a comfortable floor this season in that we won't be anywhere below 14th at come the end of the season.
I'd be shocked.
Happen, and we'd still finish no lower than 14th. I think we're fine. There is enough about Everton, and I know we went on that run last year, right? So a lot of people will come back to that. Oh, what about the run at the end of the season? The run at the end of the season was, I think we sort of run out of steam a little bit. The injuries picked up and whatnot.
Well, yes, but also the way we used the squad contributed to that as well.
Exactly. Players had played 90 minutes every week, and by the time you get to March, you had also you one of your starting midfielders and your most creative attacking player had also buggered off and went to the final of AFCON. Technically won it, but didn't win it. Whatever AFCON lot are doing with that, I don't know. They were dead on their arse by March. Everton, and we didn't use the depth well. I think we've expanded that depth this summer. I think we've got a good depth. We've got bodies in important positions. Norgard coming in is a big one. Brennan Johnson for Dwight McNeil, because a lot of the time last year, Dwight McNeil was coming on and like the ball was tied to his left foot and he was running slower than a weekend Walton. It just painful to watch. At least Brennan Johnson with his like crazy paving touch, at least you know he's going to be quick.
Yeah.
And he's an outball and there's going to be a bit of pace about it. It might be frustrating at time, but it's a hell of a sight better than seeing Dwight McNeil starting football games. We're not going down, right? So Everton have a comfortable floor. Where is our ceiling this season? I don't think it's massively high. I think
8th, maybe 7th.
Be looking at 7th, 8th.
We could sneak into a farmer's.
So, I mean, 7th or 8th could, like last season, be European qualifying positions.
Yeah.
Right? So there is that there's that target. So we've got a nice ceiling to floor level here. Previous Evertons, the floor was so low. Like we could have plummeted so many times. And the ceiling was basically, we were like ducking under it all the time. I think we've shifted, and I know there was a lot of complaints about last season, myself amongst them. Mm-hmm. And I was fed up of a lot of it. And it especially when you're paying your money, you go into the game, you're sitting there, frustration builds. What I said before last season, we needed stability. We were crying out for stability, right? And we got that. We got stability. It was a little bit front-loaded, but last season was a stable mid-table season, right?
Yeah.
Crap in the cups, whatever. That's Everton. We're always crap in the cups. So it was that season that everybody had been crying out for. But because we did all the good work early and there was that sort of apple hanging on the low branches where you thought, oh, maybe we could just reach up and grab it, and we didn't. People see last season as a poor season. I don't see it as a poor season. I see it as an underwhelming season, but it was a season we needed. This year is more of the same. I don't think we're not looking at challenging anyone anytime soon. I think what we need to do is we need to raise our floor up to that sort of we take relegation. We're not a relegation side, right? And we raise the ceiling and we say, right, okay, well, what we want to do is our aim for this season is to finish in that sort of top half of the table and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a bit like, because when was the last time Everton finished in the top half of the table? Couldn't tell you. Koeman. I don't think it's happened since Koeman.
Yeah.
Did
Ancelotti finish?
Ancelotti finished 11th, I think.
11th. Okay. Yeah.
I need to look into that, but I don't think we finished in the top half under Ancelotti. Yeah. We had that great start, and then we lost at home, and Daniel Jefferson scored. So say what you will about that. I think it's one of those. I think we've got. I don't think we will, but I think there's an outside chance of Europe this year. But I think we're in a much better place as a club. And yes, we all have our gripes with Moyes. I was vocal about them at times last season on post matches, and in the heat of the moment after numbing defeats, you go, yeah, he's got to go. He's not going to go. They're not going to sack him. The club are not going to sack David Moyes.
If they were going to, they would have done it by now. But
exactly, they would have done it over the summer.
But Keith, I would say though that we've all seen this movie a bunch of times. If they
I'm touching wood so hard.
If they get off to a bad start, the fact that he has nothing left on his contract would make him expendable.
My fear is
because the fans will turn on. The fans have already begun to turn on him a little bit, even because what you said is true on one level, Keith. And because I've heard some form of this argument a bunch of times, like we needed a season of stability, which is something we all agree on and all agree on going into the season. And some people will say, well, you guys said it was cool if we had this kind of season at the beginning. Why is it different now? And my thing is this. In a sport where there is no playoff, okay? So, we're not in the championship league. We're in the Premier League, right? So there is no like you finish here to get to this next round or whatever. You either win the title or you finish in a European qualifying spot. That's the closest thing, that's how you signify some accomplishment. So to me, I'm sorry, Keith, like, yeah, finishing top half would certainly be good, but like the difference, no one's going to remember the difference between, that season we finished 13th versus the one we finished 11th versus the one we finished 12th versus one. They're all the same season.
Yeah.
My issue is not, I don't view last season as a failure because of where we finished. To me, any feeling of failure I have about it is the context, which is that, it's one thing if you lean into the, playing your experienced players and run them into the ground, but we get Europe. And I said that I was consistent about that. If we do it, I don't agree with this approach because I'm a big believer in good process yields good results. But if we do this, what I consider to be an overall bad process, not doing development, not doing the things that Everton should be doing, but we get into Europe, then hey, whatever. But we didn't do it. And so to me, my problem was that not that we finished 13th, who cares? 13th, 17th, 12th, I don't care. It's all the same. 9th would have been the same to me too. We missed out on Europe. The problem I have is that it was a wasted season in that we wasted too much of last season not getting some of these players, the younger players, more minutes and more development time.
Yeah,
I would just argue
now.
If you are looking at Tyreek George, for instance, or Tyler Dibbling this summer, or Harrison Armstrong, or Merlin Roll, even Merlin Roll went months without playing. He was just living his black and white Instagram era for most of last season. If you think that they have looked good this summer, I would say I agree with you, but imagine what they might look like right now if they had played more last season.
Fully agree. Where we are right now is where we should have been last year, but we're not.
Yeah.
Last season was a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah.
And that brings us right back to what we've been saying for the last however long. Play the kids, play the young lads, the entertainers, and let them entertain.
Let me be entertained by an 11th place finish if I'm going to finish 11th.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like let's at least be able to say, yeah, we finished 11th, but man, how fun was that? How much can you see a vision where, God, you know how fun some of that one goal George scored on the road against the City, or that one random pass that Dibbling pulled, like those moments are what make a season. And I would tell you that when you can finish a season having played young players who have upside, and then they actually develop and show you something, then imagine how fun the next summer is, where you're like, now imagine what they're going to look like next season. I don't need to know more about, and again, I've said it a million times, there are players that we know enough about that have a level and are not getting above that level. They're not going to suddenly have a renaissance at age 32 or 33. Like, it's okay to just, start to phase those guys out. But I do want to, with the time we got, a couple things. Like, Heath, we talked a ton about kind of the state of the squad and everything. I want you to tell me what player, if I had to pin you down, what player, I'm not asking which player you think will be the best. What I'm asking you is which player on the Everton squad's season is going to matter the most in terms of how we finish, right? Like, then this player having a really good season means that we could get to the top of that upside of like 8th, 7th, whatever you're talking about, versus if they have a poor season, it doesn't mean we're going to get relegated, but it may just mean we have an underwhelming season. Like, I don't know if you want to call it like your talisman, your whatever, but like the player who you're looking at most and saying, if this guy has a good season, I think this could really bring us up a level. Who is that for you?
I'm torn between two here, and
I bet one of mine's the same as yours too.
So my honourable mention on this is Jared Branthwaite. If he stays fit, the defence settles a lot more than what it was. My answer on this one, Tierno Barry.
That's mine. Oh, that was mine too. That was mine.
If he kicks on from what we've seen in pre-season with this level of confidence, and I wanted to talk about him on this pod because there are so many things about him that we saw last season when he was new in the league, and he was job sharing with Beto last year,
right? And
he wasn't confident. Like his first touch was poor. If he missed a chance, he sort of went missing. Look at, and I know it's preseason, and like, obviously with all the caveats of preseason, right? You watch his play now, right? He's winning the ball in the air. He's dominant in the air, as we saw against Newcastle, as we saw against that.
He's playing to his size, isn't he?
He's playing to. He's a physical lad, and he's getting involved. He doesn't look overawed by it. His first touch, I don't know who has paid £20 to an Etsy witch to have his first touch improved, but it was worth every penny. And if you like, drop me a DM, I'll chip in for it. Because, my God, his first touch and his link-up play, you saw it with Njai yesterday. Like, the close control has come on leaps and bounds. And then there's his finishing. Like, it's not 100% there yet, but the finish against Newcastle is that's the sort of goal that Lukaku scored for us week in, week out. Right? And we all know we've never replaced Lukaku as a striker at Everton. If he kicks on from this little nice, and like you say, it was a job interview between him and Beto in pre-season, and he's won it comfortably. Yeah, he's won it hands down. What he needs now is he needs the run of starts. If he doesn't score in the first 4 games, but he's playing well, keep playing him. keep playing him because the goals will come. His positional, and he can get into those positions. Just keep going with him, and it's pertinent for us as a fan base and a crowd inside the stadium. Don't get on his back. Encouragement is the key one here. I know it's Everton and we love a boo. We all love a boo and you fucking shite, lad.
Yeah.
That, right? Build on his keep going with that confidence, because if we're playing with these quick wingers and we're getting these low balls whipped in across the box, the goals are going to come. The goals are going to come. I think if he has the season he could have, if he lives up to the potential that's there, what we can see, he could be the difference between us finishing 9th, 10th, or us finishing 7th, 6th. Dare I say it, miraculously higher.
Yeah, as much as the game has changed, the one thing that's pretty constant is that the teams that collectively score the most are have that higher upside in terms of table finish. I mean, those are, it's not real. I'm not breaking any news here. To me, he could literally go from the 8 goals he scored last season to maybe it's just an increase of up to 12 goals. Yeah. But it's all the other stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm glad you touched on it, because to me, a lot of how I judge the effectiveness of a striker, the longer I've watched and consumed this sport, don't get me wrong, when you're the number 9, the goal scoring matters the most, always will. But I'm also looking at how productive is the overall attack in terms of output with you as the number 9. And it is the thing that has jumped off the page to me. Some of the passes that should have been goals this preseason of his, he's got underrated vision for a guy.
That one to Harrison Armstrong yesterday. I mean, to pick that pass through a crowd of 3 defenders.
Yeah, he's had a few
brilliant.
Of those. He's had a few of those, and he's starting to figure out how to use his he's 6'6". He's a big guy. Like, he's starting to figure out how to use his frame. The hold up play, the first touch has been exponentially better. And it's the way in which he is becoming more of a component of the attack, as opposed to I'm going to wait here and hope that one of the 2 chances that this mediocre set of wings creates all game long actually makes it to me. That's, to me, one of the things that is almost like a chicken or egg symbiotic sort of thing is, are the wingers looking better in the preseason because of how Barry is playing, or is Barry looking better because of how the wings are playing? And the answer is it's both. And I do think that, and even if I want to dumb it down further, guys, like, part of the reason I'm so excited about someone like McNeil no longer being an option, because Moyes, I think, gravitates towards the most mediocre, experienced options all the time. So for me, I just love if there's just a trade-off between him and like Brennan Johnson, for instance. All over the pitch, Everton have gotten faster. They are more pacey as a collective group, especially with Branthwaite in at the center half position. It's why I want Jake O'Brien to play with him, because I'd love 2 giant center halves who both have pace. But then you go from them forward, you now have, I think between the wing play, especially just because I think guys like George and Brennan Johnson in particular, Dibbling is not like a burner, but he's not slow either. He's fast with the ball at his feet, if that makes sense, in terms of like he can really hold on to the ball. But then I think Barry is starting to use his pace a little bit more. I think Beto is your classic try hard guy, but I think what we are beginning to see in this particular preseason overall is that Barry is the talent. Like, Barry has those physical traits, but also he has skill to him that, and this was always my argument last season, is that, you have to let a guy like that, who's 21, 22 coming into the first year in the Premier League. You have to let him get games and also struggle. Like, everyone associates struggle as, like, they use a young player struggling as evidence to why that player shouldn't play. And I view it completely opposite, which is the struggle is part of that player getting to where he needs to get. There is no getting to the next level without first understanding what it takes. And part of understanding what it takes is failure and struggle and those sorts of things. And Tierno Barry, and Tierno Barry, the last thing I'll say on him is he has some of the criticism. I'm sorry, guys, but like some of the criticism of Tierno Barry, I'm only going to say seems like the kind of criticism that players that look like him get that some others would not. That especially those of you that somehow think Liam Delap and his one goal should have come in because why? He has a better face and body language or attitude. Like, I don't want to hear that.
Let's not bring Liam Delap's name into the anywhere, just in case someone overhears and tries to sign him because, my God.
Yeah, but my point generally being that, yes, Barry's attitude, he did get down on himself. He did have these peaks and valleys of confidence. But like, that's part of a young player's journey. And to your point earlier, Keith, we need to get behind him because now we're starting to see, and to Barry's credit, he's come into the summer with, hey, I am going to use last season as a motivation for me to find ways to improve, to be more resilient, to show the best version of myself. And it is only preseason, but all the signs are very promising now. And what I want to see is give that guy a run of games. Let him contribute meaningfully and positively to our attack. And you bet on the talent and you bet on your infrastructure as a club and say, if Everton are good enough at developing players, then if we play talented players enough, they will eventually figure it out because we know what we're doing. The days of, and Keith, I want to ask you this. This is a question I actually want to ask you, but like, I'm starting to think, and Adam Asnew was how this conversation I think kind of has gotten brought up. I think a lot of people have seen the infamous Tony Scott tweet from last week where he was talking about how Asnew is too small. He's just too small to have any kind of role playing left back. And that, defensively, he would be this shambles. And of course, I looked up the respective heights and weights of both him and Mykolenko. Mykolenko is like an inch taller and about 5 to 7 pounds heavier. So it's not like there's just some huge physical gulf between these two. But I did think that it illustrated this paradigm that I think so much that we still view the lens through which we still evaluate players and young players. And we do it through this lens of, all right, well, the baseline is caution, meaning that, if a player can't keep something bad from happening at all times, then he's not ready to play. And we almost look at, well, yeah, he can get forward, but until he can defend, then he's not ready to play. Whereas I would say that one, Mykolenko is not that good of a defender, even if that's what your argument is to begin with. But two, I would make the argument that you're looking at things the wrong way in that Everton are not competing for the title and are probably not competing for Europe, maybe like an outside chance of getting one of the Europa spots. Sure. But like, we are not the kind of club, given our relatively mediocre offensive output, Keith, to be saying we've got a talented player who can contribute to an attack right now, and we shouldn't play him because he might occasionally get beaten for a goal. Whereas we're comfortable playing a player who has zero contribution to the offensive attack. Yeah. And we're like, oh, but it's okay because he's sound defensively, even though he's not actually sound defensively. Like to me, I think the way we should be looking at young players is stop being so risk averse. Everyone is so afraid of like, well, the player will have one bad game and he'll lose all his confidence and his entire career will be shattered. And that logic makes no sense to me, A. And B, we act like if Adam Asnew gets beaten for a goal, then that proves that he was never ready to ever play a game. Like, great players make mistakes. They allow goals. They miss an open net. Like, those things happen, but that cannot be a reason that you don't play a player, right? Like, Keith, do you think we are looking at young players through the lens of far too much caution, like in the old days? Like, or, have we caught up with is the paradigm caught up with where football is today in terms of how we're evaluating or talking about young players and their readiness to play?
Yeah. I mean, I guess there is that element of a lot of like top level football clubs will go for the risk averse option. They'll go for the safe. Yes, it's not the best, but it like we know it's not going to cause too much of an issue. We all know where we're at with Mykolenko, and what I will say, and I will give him credit, like I thought Mykolenko had a very good game yesterday.
I'm using Mykolenko as an example, and I'm not trying to pick on him particularly. Keith. I just
with Asnu, I think what we've seen with Asnu in the last couple of weeks is, whilst he is that exciting, quick, sparky player up front, he is a long way short of being ready to play every week as a starting left back.
Totally agree.
In the Premier League. Right now, I would be sending him on loan. Get him a season somewhere in like League One or the Championship, where he's going to play football every single week and he can make his mistakes there and he can learn the English game there. Get him out on loan, full season. Don't even consider bringing him back like we did with Armstrong.
Are we signing another left back in that scenario then?
I'm going to say...
I cannot allow Mykolenko to be the only left back in the squad.
I'm going to say no, purely because we know that we've got James Garner in the squad, who is solid at left back. He's a very good left back.
And we're deep in midfielders. Yeah.
We know that the fullbacks are an issue, and both fullbacks have to be addressed at some point. Are they going to address both in one season? No, absolutely not. We know we're not signing a new left back this season unless like they stumble across the reincarnation of a young Paolo Maldini somewhere, somehow. So let's get the right back thing sorted out. We know we're going to have another season of Mykolenko playing, and just hope that having Branthwaite in that back line sort of mitigates the mistakes you get with Mykolenko. He has had a couple of good games across pre-season. Newcastle wasn't one of them, where he got tackled by the wind. That was amusing, but I think for me, as Asnu, and I get it's a point to be made, but he's so far away from being ready for Premier League football as a defender.
Okay, but my question then would be, and Matt Jones even said this yesterday, like, I'm sorry, what I've seen of Asnu, I'm not convinced that he could not be some kind of, bring on the last 10, 15 minutes when you're chasing a goal, or, even as a flexible left wing option or left wing back option or something, like.
I mean, Rob, look at an example from within the club, and this is the perfect example of it, is Seamus Coleman, when he signed, didn't play at full back until he got back from Blackpool. He played on the right wing. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do that with Asnu, like this is obviously stems into the we don't sign Grealish, have Asnu on the bench there as an option that you can bring on the left wing.
Yeah.
And let him do what he did against. Obviously, he got us back into the game against Sunderland in the FA Cup. So if you're not going to send him on loan for a full season,
give him something.
Do that for a year. But I mean, again, he's a kid. He's a young lad. He's what, 19 years old or something.
Sure. But I agree with you. He needs to play, even if he's not starting. Though my point is simply that if you're going to keep him around,
give him minutes. You've got to give him minutes. Yeah,
you got to give him something to do, and then B, if you don't keep him around for this season, and I do think there's some wisdom to a good loan, then I'm sorry, I don't get how they can look at Mykolenko and not think that they need at least another left back to push him. That's
the challenge. We know it's not going to happen.
But
I'd love
why?
it to.
But why do we accept that? Well, we just know because Moyes is that way, and we just sort of accept it. I hate that mentality that we're just kind of like resigned to the hand tied behind our back.
I mean, mate, we've been doing it at right back for
It's awful.
8 years, 9 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Since we knew that Coleman would need a long-term successor. The left back thing's only been happening for what, 4 years, 5 years. So I'd love us to go out and sign a starting one tomorrow.
Yeah, and we probably want, like, let's get a right back in first. I'm not. That leads well into, I want to do kind of to end things. The Everton discussion here. I want to do a little rapid fire. We got a couple questions in, but I have some questions, and again, just I'll have an answer too, but I just want you to kind of give me your gut on these things. First question: are we definitely signing Jack Grealish before the deadline? Not if you think we should, but just will we?
Not definite. I feel like it probably will happen, but I'd rather it didn't, unless Njai goes.
Yeah, I'm with you in that I think it will happen, even though I don't necessarily think it should.
I think it's, as we've discussed,
the Njai thing would change everything. But, the talk of Njai going has certainly calmed down quite a bit. I think we can hang on to him for one more season. He'll still have 2 seasons left on his deal, and you could still sell him for a decent fee next summer if he won't sign a new contract, which is fine. Even though I like Njai, I think, I'm not worried about the wing position. Second question. There's a couple that came from a Twitter user called the Toffees Chainsaw Massacre. Big respect for that name. Step Sheehan 114, who says, when is Keith going to first say we need to take solace in our loved ones? That was
I'm hoping I don't have to say that this year. I'm hoping that our loved ones can remain unsolaceable for the year, which would be lovely.
I will be saying that the first time that Branthwaite goes down with an injury and Michael Keane is shown to clearly be Moyes' preference as the third center half. That will be when I say we need to take solace in our loved ones. And you know what, Keith? It's not even because of Keane anymore. It's more just because of the fact that I think that I hate the combination of him and Tarkowski together. I just think it's so bad. And it'll bum me out when he doesn't play O'Brien there. I also want to, I low key, if Jake O'Brien, if anyone knows him or if this gets back to him, I would like to break into player management, player agent work, if you will. I will be Jake O'Brien's agent. I will find him a better place than Everton if they don't want to play him at center half. Next question, Keith. Do you think the team will, and this is also from Toffee's Chainsaw Massacre, kind of a broad question. We've been talking around it, and maybe this is kind of a question about what you think will happen in the transfer window. But do you think this team will look markedly different at the end of August, or really he's saying kind of the end of the window? He says, I can still see Njai being sold, and for the love of God, please, us signing a right back so the team may look different. I think, Keith, I'll answer it first. I don't know how many times I've ended a summer saying we can't not sign a right back, surely, and then we don't. So I don't know that I'm convinced we will sign a right back. I do not consider Ben White a fullback. I'm sorry. That's just, I don't know why a guy who has 1 year left on his contract is being given that much veto power, but I digress. I expect, honestly, I think this team is going to come. I think Njai stays, and I think we get a right back, but I don't think we're adding much more than that after this. I think we're kind of going with this group. Now, does Beto get sold, and then you need to bring in another striker? I guess maybe, but unless there's a really, an offer for Beto that makes sense, I'd be cool with just having. I could run into the season with the two of them and probably be okay. I'd rather if we know Beto's not going to be the starter and we could get something for him and get a replacement in. I'd love that, but I'm not going to worry about I feel pretty good right now with where that position's at. But overall, I kind of think this is the team we've got. Keith, what do you, other than right back, which I hope to God we address, what do you think?
I think we're going to have 2 out, 2 in. before the end of the window.
Okay.
I think the two out are going to be Tim Erabunum and wild shout here. I think Charlie Alcaraz goes.
I can see
I
that.
think if we can get money for him, he's surplus really. That's not to say he's not a good footballer, but
he does seem to make things happen when he plays.
Yeah, I feel like we might cash in on him.
Yeah.
So I think those two go, and I think the two ins are Jack Grealish and Ben White. I know.
God, it's just so.
I wouldn't be against Ben White coming in as a centre half because it means
that means someone has to go.
Well,
that means Keane or O'Brien or someone. But
do Burnley want Michael Keane back for a year?
Does Burnley want Tarkowski back? He's a legend, right?
I mean, they can take both of them.
We'll
give them both for the price of one.
I don't mind Ben White as a center half, but again, I don't.
And again,
it's insistence on, well, we're going to kind of get a guy who's played a lot of right back. Like, that's what Jake O'Brien has played more right back than center half, but it doesn't make him a right back.
Yeah, and I'd rather have a pro. I mean, I was all for the signing of Alistair Johnson from Celtic. It's not an exciting signing. It's not.
Yeah, he would have been fine. But he's injury prone, clearly. So
I'm going to swap that Ben White one.
Okay.
I think the other one in is Munoz. Completely forgot about him. I think we get that Munoz deal done. Now, yes, it's kicking the can down the road a year or two, but he's a fullback.
He's 30. He's not 35. He's 30, which would already be one of the younger right backs we've employed in a while. But like, he's 30.
And it's a stable option.
But he's also like, you're not going to get resale, but you'll also get 2 or 3 really good years of right back play because he has proven himself to be a quality, productive right back.
Yeah. Now, is he more of a wing back than a right back? I mean, that's a discussion to be had, but. That's like we said earlier with role overlapping. That's what we want, really, is a fullback who's going to get down the wing. I think the fact that we've got Merlin Roll and James Garner who can cover the fullback positions, it's not there out and out. Unless you look at Roll and say, right, okay, you're a right back now, Merlin.
That's the thing. If Roll, look, I saw enough. I've seen enough of Roll play to think
I wouldn't hate it.
He's very much, and again, not comparing the players, but more the roles of like how, no pun intended, of how like Phil Neville was kind of deployed early on at Everton, right? Like he played fullback and he played in the midfield, and he was just kind of a jackknife, right? Like a Swiss Army knife.
The good thing about Merlin Roll is he doesn't run like he's wearing like welding boots.
Yeah, and that's the thing is I can forgive a lot of, maybe I can forgive. There are certain things I think Roll could get away with in terms of technical knowledge of the position, blah, blah, blah.
He's a clever footballer.
He's clever, but he's also got the pace to be able to recover from mistakes in ways that I think would serve him well, right? But in that case, then what I want then is for them to come out and say, Merlin Roll is a right back. That is his position. And, because I don't think this is not development. Don't tell me he's going to play right back for 2 or 3 seasons and then suddenly become a midfielder again at the age of 25. That's what if I was Jake O'Brien's agent, it's the same thing. I'd be like, you're 25 now, and the fact that you've played so little first team football at the center half position in the last 2-3 years is not good for your development as a player. And I think you can do it, but I think Roll needs to be declared a right back, and that's what he is.
Well, yeah, I saw a tweet actually today. I don't know if it was from today or from yesterday, but it said if we'd signed Merlin Roll as a right back for 25-30 million, whatever we spent on him last summer. And he played like that yesterday, everyone would be made up. Everyone would have been delighted. I mean, I'm backtracking on him massively because I was like all for us getting relegated last season, so we didn't have to trigger the clause to sign him permanently.
But Keith, the problem, and I agree with you. The problem, of course, is that the entire premise of what you've just said is basically akin to, as you know, if
he didn't
reality
get
were completely different, wouldn't it be great? If he was something that he's not, wouldn't that be great? Now the problem is he's not actually a right back. But if the club says he is going to play right back this season and be the primary starter, and this is going to be his position, and you know, there are other midfield options, whatever. And it's not that he can't be versatile, but to your point, like, they need to commit one way or the other. Because like trying to live in these different worlds is not good for the player, and it's not good for.
But we've talked about this before, Rob. How often do clubs properly communicate to the media in the Premier League? They don't.
They don't.
Just doesn't happen, does it? So, but if we see Merlin Rolls start the first 3-4 games of the season at right back, I think that's a pretty clear indicator of the way they've shifted. And if that's the case, and he does well there, he continues to do well there, then let it for want of a better phrase, an unintentional pun, let it roll.
So many,
like, let it happen.
Yeah. Let me finish out with the rest of my rapid fire questions. Does David Moyes make it through this season as the manager?
Yes.
I would say yes as well if we sign a right back. I think, because I do think that if we don't sign a right back and we struggle, fair or not, people will tie those things together and they will blame Moyes for being the reason we didn't sign a right back. And they will say that he was too picky because, you know, he thinks by not talking to the media or the fans right now, he's doing himself a lot of favors, but he's not, because right now everyone's just filling in their own narrative. And I think that increasingly, and I don't know that this is untrue, I think he is the blocker. I think that he is obsessed with some archetype of player that may or may not exist. And he is the reason we haven't signed a right back. And I think that if we struggle, people, even if it has nothing to do with the right back position, people will say, see, we've got a manager who's a lame duck who kept us from signing a position of need, and we're struggling defensively, or we're struggling to create on the right side. You know what I mean? Like, people will come up with a narrative. And I think that he could, you know, we've seen how the fans turning against the manager at this club can ultimately lead to a sacking. But if we sign a right back, I believe this squad is quality enough. And I think there won't be the push or the rush or the need to get a new manager in this season. I think he does make the season. And by the way, I maintain, as much as I'm critical of Moyes, I want him to succeed. He's been the manager the vast majority of my Everton.
I mean, if he succeeds, then the club succeeds, and we're all happy. So
exactly. Where do Everton finish in the table this season? And you can assume whatever conditions you want, like we're healthy.
Right now, you ask me right now, I'm going to say 9th.
Okay. I'd go right now, just because I have a hard time until I see a right back get signed. I do think the issue with the right back to me is one of the way it affects both the attack and the defense, Keith. Like, I feel like not addressing that position, though I'm willing to be proven wrong by Merlin Roll starting 32, 35 games at right back and being awesome. Like, maybe that happens, right? But what I would say is that if we don't sign a right back, then my projection would be lower, but I have to kind of see it first. But as this squad is currently constructed, give me 11th. I'm going to say 11th. If they sign a right back, I think I'm with you, like 9th, maybe even an outside shot at 8th if some things go well and Branthwaite like, to me, like, Branthwaite is the thing that can compromise the floor we talked about the most. Like, if he is out, I think the defense is significantly worse. If he's in, I think our floor is much higher, and therefore our ceiling could be higher too. And then obviously Tierno Barry continuing to be a productive part of the attack. scoring more, but also, that if that link up play we have seen, as we talked about before, in the preseason is any kind of preview of what we're going to see this season. I have a lot of, especially with how much pacier we are as a collective squad and more skilled. I do think, I think that could be really good for the attack. I think we could score more than people think. We should have scored 3 goals yesterday, 3 or 4 goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just didn't.
I think
weird game.
Come back to me at this exact time in 6 days on the first post-match of the season in anger.
Yeah,
and I might have a different prediction for you.
Okay. I want to end on some non-Everton stuff really quick, Keith, just to take your pulse on this. Was wondering,
is it our Eclipse's shite?
Yeah, I was going to ask that question. Now, the part of the reason we have this down here is that at some point Matt asked this, probably, I'm guessing on Mailbag. We could not get it off the screen. So anyone watching on YouTube has been seeing that roll by us the whole time and been thinking, when are they going to talk about this? Why is that question down there? So I was in England this past week. I was in London for work onboarding, and it's work onboarding, guys. It's not, there's not a lot to tell. This onboarding, Keith, could have been down 2 blocks from my house here in Oklahoma City, and I would have seen the same amount of outdoors. Like, we were just in a conference room. We were just, it was real intensive and whatever. But I had to travel to London for it. I'm still kind of getting through my jet lag right now. But on the night of the Eclipse, we had some, I don't know if you call it a team building exercise or mandatory social activity in the evening, but we did the whole, we went to one of those go-karting places where we got to race the go-karts around the multi-level track. That was pretty fun, actually. It was a little more physically strenuous than I recall it being in the past, probably because I'm just getting old as shit. But I missed the Eclipse. I have seen an Eclipse before, seen or done the whole Eclipse experience thing before here, but I forgot about it completely while it was going on. So I didn't get to see the Eclipse. So Keith, did you see the Eclipse, and was it shite? I think that's my question for you.
Yes, and yes.
It was
literally so I'm Somerset based these days.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a cloud in roughly 3 months. And the night of the Eclipse, all day, beautiful, nice clear skies. Half an hour before the eclipse was due, clouds just formed and drifted right across the sun. So I saw a little bit of it. I managed to get a photo of it. It was a crap photo. It was one of them. And it's not going to happen again for another 20 odd years. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Shite. Everton might have won a trophy by then.
I think eclipses are way cooler in theory and or in through the lens of a really great camera that's taking photos or something than it is.
What I will say is there was a guy in Spain who, shall we say, eclipse maxed, as the kids are saying these days, in that he set up a ramp, like a half pipe ramp, and skateboarded so that he was in midair right as the eclipse reached totality in Spain, which they look like they got a much better one than us. And he set up a long lens camera focused on it. So he's got this picture of him in midair, grabbing the bottom of his skateboard right in front of the eclipse. And it looks cool as shit.
Yeah.
It does. And so he had a good eclipse. Everyone else, bit of crap.
Yeah.
It's a good idea. You go, oh yeah, these big balls of gas in the sky are moving. Okay, great. Happy days.
Yeah.
Does it affect my life that much? Yeah.
No, usually eclipses are more powerful in weird horror movie scenarios where the eclipse triggers some mass hysteria or something like that, and everyone starts eating dogs and cats and killing each other, stuff like that. But yeah, usually eclipses I think they are kind of
on the plus side. It might have inspired Newcastle to be absolutely rancid in the friendly because they were terrible.
Oh.
And if you
I feel like everyone is really out for blood with Newcastle, wanting them to go down this season. Have you guys seen the new manager? That guy, that guy, he's either going to be an amazing success or he is going to absolutely just like crater. He is so
I
overly,
don't think he sees
overly.
Christmas.
He is. I can't remember his name, and I don't know if it's one that I would have a hard time pronouncing or not. But
I'm not even going to
he
bother learning his name until he's
wears.
past his probation period.
He's like the prettiest. He's one of the prettier men that has ever managed in the Premier League. A, and B. He is like every hair on his head is perfectly placed with this, like I can only imagine how much the turtleneck blazer combo he was wearing with the tight fitting slacks and everything. Like I can't even imagine how much that set him back, but he absolutely looks like he came from the FIFA Euro trendy manager factory of. I have no idea if he's any good or not, but I just thought Newcastle feels like they're going to have a really strange season. There's a lot. I don't know if I'm convinced yet that Newcastle, as much as they've lost, are going to actually really struggle to stay in the league, but it would not shock me given some of the weirdness we've seen like out of Forest lately and out of all these Spurs and like sides that have no business with the amount of money they've spent on their squads to be in that much trouble, but yet we see how it creeps up, right? Like, and suddenly you're in the quicksand and you can't quite get out. Nothing would shock me.
I'd be very happy to see them go.
Yeah, I would too. And then Keith, I wanted to catch up with you on we're into the hottest and worst part of summer, but this has been summer movie season for me. Have you seen anything in your local movie house this summer that has been fun or that you have enjoyed? I saw like the Odyssey. I was wondering if you have seen the Odyssey yet, and if that's.
I have not seen it because I refuse to go to a cinema until the weather is like suitable, because sitting in a dark room with like 50 odd other people,
it sounds like air conditioning in the theaters, Keith, over there.
It's I mean, I don't even want to run the risk. I've seen a load of people who've said they've gone to the cinema and the air con's broke and it's just like sitting in a big sweaty room. And I have no desire to be. I'm excited to watch it, but I'm gonna like wait till it comes on telly. I'd rather watch it because it's an epic as well. And I'm an old man these days, Rob. I can't sit still for 3 hours. I need to get up and walk around. So the ability to watch it and pause it, but I will probably watch it. I think the thing that I've been most excited about this summer was the return of the series Reacher on Amazon.
Now I've never watched Reacher, but I've heard many people seem to love it. The ones who were really into it, like, love it. I've never watched.
So I've read all the books, and it's just, he is one of the worst actors I have ever seen, but he is absolutely perfect as Reacher. And I don't know why. It's just great to watch. So
he's got really sound politics though as well though.
Oh, I tell you a film I did enjoy that did come out, The Devil Wears Prada 2.
Oh my god.
I thought it was incredible. I thought it was the way they followed. I think
that was the words that were coming out of your mouth.
Really enjoyed it. That's about it for me movie wise this summer.
Odyssey, loved it. I would say that if you do have a theater option that includes air conditioning that is not the hellscape that Keith Tomlin has just painted, then you should see it on as big a screen as possible. Christopher Nolan he does it for me. I'm not saying anything that makes my opinion that creative, but I do love a Nolan movie, and I thought Odyssey was great. I'm also a horror movie guy. I enjoyed the hell out of both Backrooms and Obsession. Those two were creepy and weird and made me feel things. And I love that kind of movie for sure. Haven't seen the new Spider-Man. I'm sure Dave probably saw it like the first night it came out, but I've heard good things about that one. Television wise, this, summertime, especially for me, when there's no Everton going on, it's kind of a dry season for sport in the United States, except for baseball, really. And so, I spent a lot more time on television. Love Island USA. Again, no notes. It makes for a great summer. And some Married at First Sight. I think some of you have gotten into those types of shows. I love reality trash, in addition to my prestige TV watching type stuff. But
there's a series over here. It's completely escaped me what it is, but it's coming back in September, and I'm really excited about it. This is an utterly pointless contribution because I can't remember that.
Is it a reality series or a fiction?
Oh no, a series. I think it's a drama. Okay. If you know what I'm talking about, please.
No, I don't. So it's a thing on TV that is a series.
It's coming back.
It's a drama. Season. That narrows it down, Keith, very much.
It's a new season, and I'm excited about it, but I can't remember what it is.
Well, is it like a police procedural? Is it a comedy? Is it?
It's gone. It's
gosh, Keith,
of course, we do have coming up our NFL fantasy drafts next month.
Oh God, yeah. I don't even know that I have that on my calendar. I'm gonna have to, yeah.
I don't think we've got a date.
Keith and I have been in the same league. Yeah. I still don't understand why we don't put money in on this league, Keith, because people over there fall out of bed and gamble on something like bowel movements, and yet you don't want to put money in on this fantasy football league for some reason, and I've never understood.
It is what it is. But us two here on the pod are the only two-time title winners in our league.
Yep.
So nobody else has got to that magic number of 2. Obviously, I'm defending my title this year, so could be fun.
I'm afraid that I regret to inform you that the Dallas Cowboys have swindled me into some optimism this season, and I cannot tell you how disappointed I am about that, because I know how it's going to turn out, but they're sucking me in again, unfortunately. And again, I'm from Dallas originally, guys, so I was born into this. So I was born into the darkness, if you will. So,
they adopted it.
I know, right? So, but yeah, no, it's good to catch up. The only other random observation I have about my trip over was, could not believe how fucking hot it was in London. I think on Thursday it got up to a 101 Fahrenheit, which I don't know what that is in Celsius, but it's probably like 41, 42, like something absurdly high. But
yeah, London in summer is an apocalyptic hellhole.
I could not believe how hot it was getting.
The UK in general, I mean, we've had 2 train derailments in the last week or so, all because we have a country with infrastructure that is not designed to work outside of an overcast 16 degrees Celsius. If it's not that exact temperature, the country grinds. It's either too hot or too cold.
Yeah. Well, I had some, I was at this bar, and the incredibly Greek owner of the place, who was just lovely, was talking to me about, the heat he is used to growing up there versus, how everyone was having a meltdown about it here. But one thing he mentioned was just that in London, more and more people are starting to get their own air conditioning units, but then that's putting a strain on the power grid there. And like, while I was at the bar, we started seeing these power flashes, and mind you, it was hot as all get out. Like, the reason I even stopped in that place, because I was on my way to somewhere else, is just because I felt the AC blowing out the door. So I'm like, I'll buy a Paloma from this guy, from this proprietor. But there were power, like the lights blinked on, and a couple times, and apparently they're having those little like power flash issues in certain parts of London because it's so hot and everyone's using AC now. And I was just like, man, I was hoping all this crazy climate shit was gonna mostly happen after I was dead, Keith, but apparently I may have to live through part of this apocalypse. So
yeah, I mean, this is, people say, it's the driest summer on record, but like, when you look at it that way, for the rest of our lives, this is going to be the coldest summer.
I know someone said that the other day, and I thought, God, that really puts it into some scary
By
perspective.
this time next year, I will have a fully functioning aircon unit in my office.
Very
because
good.
I can't go through another summer like that.
Yeah. Well, I am in the hottest part of the summer here in Oklahoma, so believe me, I know how you guys are feeling to a certain extent. But yeah, man, Keith, we made it. We did. I think we vamped those last. We kind of filibustered there the last few minutes and got it right up to 2 hours. I'm pretty
Well,
proud of that.
There you go. Matt might try and make this a two-parter. Who knows?
We always say that, and then he never does. So I think it'll be okay. But yeah, I did a kickabout with him the other day, which was, I think we kept to like an hour, just to, or not the other day, like last month or whatever. They did for like an hour, and I was really impressed that I could, Matt Jones size my kickabout. But no, today was classic.
If you've watched or listened and managed to stick with us for the full 2 hours, including my local neighborhood nut job shouting out in the background, then thank you, and please feel free to message us on the Blue Room socials and let us know your thoughts on what we've covered over the time. And if you gave up 20 minutes in, then you're not going to hear this message, so don't bother.
Yeah, won't matter to me. Well, Keith, thanks again for your time.
It's been a pleasure, mate, as always.
Obviously, for those of you who have made it to the end, the Blue Room, as you can imagine, in the week leading up to the season, has a ton of content headed your way, including I believe a live byline event in Liverpool.
Yeah, Wednesday. I think it's Wednesday night this week.
Yeah, Wednesday
in the Bridewell.
At the I love the Bridewell, Keith. I think about the Bridewell all the time. I can't wait to get back there. Last time I was there, I have a picture, believe it or not, very close by that I keep handy from my last time at the Bridewell of me and Keith having a drink.
Magnificent.
And I was wearing my cowboy boots. We were in multiple layers because it was pretty cold that night, So
you need to get back, Rob.
It's going to be hot. It's going to be hot there, but get to the Bridewell. Patty, in particular, loves when listeners come up to him and ask him about transfers. He says he doesn't, and the more he protests, the more you know that he's really into your question. So make sure that you go up and talk to him about that. But yeah, go check them out. And then obviously you'll have Blue Monday. We'll probably have a mailbag this week. We're going to have all kinds of preview content. Enjoy this week, everyone, while we are feeling good about this squad, because we know that feeling will most certainly disappear very quickly.
Hopefully the good feeling rolls on to post-match next Saturday.
That would be fantastic.
Very excited to be back outside the wonderful Denby Castle with a cold drink in hand, chatting about Everton and how we've got on. So
Everton are back, guys, like it or not.
As always, if you're around, feel free to pop up, say hello. We're always willing to have a chat outside the pub.
Absolutely. And my goal is, now that I'm gainfully employed once again, Keith, my goal is to make it back over. I still have not been to Hill Dickinson. That was the one thing this season. I had a lot of family stuff going on and then job stuff. Wasn't able to make it over this past season, but looking forward to hopefully getting to Hill Dickinson to see a better Everton side and to visit with all of you.
Well,
but
you've always got a seat next to me, Rob, and I've got a new view for this season. I'm not as high up, so
fantastic. Well, for Keith Tomlin, I'm Rob Vera. We'll see you guys next time for more Kickabout. You guys take care, and we'll see you again next time.